Fancy some free beer this Christmas? Does Edson Alvarez love a booking? Does Michael Antonio love a podcast? The answer to all those questions is yes, of course. And it's Beer 52's award season where they celebrate the very best in independent craft breweries across the world with 8 new and exclusive beers you're not going to find anywhere else. All you need to do is go to beer52.com/West Ham and cover the postage of $5.95, and they'll send you out a free case of 8 exclusive beers straight away. I love Beer 52. I've been using them for a while. I love the fact that you get different beers every month, and this month is an absolute cracker as they celebrate the greatest talents in the craft global beer movement. For example, craft beer giants Omnipolo's Outer Galactic, cracking beer. It's really smooth, really drinkable pale ale, really hoppy, and really nicely rounded to ensure you're coming back for more and more. You can drink this one quite a lot. It's very nice indeed. But if you don't like dark beer, not a problem. Simply choose the light case, and don't forget you get a couple of tasty snacks too. You can also learn about all the fantastic breweries featured in your case with the award-winning Ferment magazine as well. So you find sort of the provenance and find out more about the story of the brewer that you're drinking. And even after all that, if you're still not satisfied, you can simply pause or cancel any time. So that's beer52.com/West Ham to claim your free case. That's beer52.com/West Ham. Yes, everybody, us on the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well. And if you do want some free beer, beer52.com/West Ham. I hope you're all safe and well. Happy Friday. It's another week done rather. And obviously West Ham, the Premier League, it's back and live. And obviously we play Burnley tomorrow at Turf Moor, which kicks off an absolutely crazy number of games for us. If you see here, this is our running. This come up to the end of the year. And you see we've got obviously Burnley on Saturday. Then we've got back at Apola away in the Europa League. Then we're back at the London Stadium for Crystal Palace on the 3rd. Then we're at Spurs on the Thursday. On the Thursday, the 7th. Then away to Fulham. So we've got a little, 3 London derbies back to back there. Then we've got Freiburg at the London Stadium in our last Europa League game. Possibly that one could be the decider for the winners of the group. But we have the advantage because we have the head-to-head. We have a better head-to-head than Freiburg. Freiburg, if we both win, need to beat us at the London Stadium. A draw means we would qualify top of the group. And then we've got Wolves at London Stadium. And then obviously Liverpool on the 20th in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals. And then at home to Man United. And then just after Crimbo on the 28th, we have got Arsenal at the Emirates. So we've got a hell of a lot of games coming up. And obviously we go into this game not really knowing just yet who's going to be playing. We know Antonio will probably definitely be out, but the likelihood is Bowen will be out. Bowen's missed something like, since he's joined, something like 2 or 3 games in the Premier League. Since he's joined, something ridiculous like that. He's been, I don't know, he's been available for 150 games and he's played 148 or something like that. Absolutely crazy. And obviously then we'll find out about Mohamed Kudus. We'll be doing the David Moyes press conference when it finishes. So around 2:00 we'll be putting that out, so you can keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you don't miss any of that. So we've got a chat. We've got Matt. Hope you will. He's going to start Danny Ings. I think I would be flabbergasted if he starts Divin over Danny Ings tomorrow. Flabbergasted. But you never know. Sometimes, and again, we had Dan on from Turf Moor House. Go and check it out last night. It was really good fun. And there's these games. There are occasionally a game, and it's usually like a Burnley or a Wolves, where Moisey has this sort of temporary amnesia and forgets who he is and plays really attacking, or plays a side that we've like, what? He's playing that? Like the Arsenal game this year. You went, what? He's playing okay, it seems to have worked. I hope rest eternal. But I don't think it's going to happen. We're all here, mate. Hope you're well. Ralph, good to see you. How hot is it in Spain? I'm afraid you're right. Youth stands no chance under Moyes. I did a piece, I think it was last week, about the youth system, and again, this is not defending Moyes in that respect, but there is an issue with the Premier League and youth team players coming through. There is. As I said, I think it's game week 11. I think I did game week 11 out of 220 players starting in the Premier League. I think 9 were for academy players. That's ridiculous. I mean, you look at someone like League A. I know League A, the money is a lot less than in the Premier League, and I think that's probably part of the reason why the youth teams don't develop. And I think also the invention of the PL2 as well has hampered it. But yeah, anyways, that's my view. Barry, hope you're well. Nice to see you. It's sunny. Only 22. March bleeds. Burnley will win or scrape a draw, I'm sure. I'll tell you what, you're looking at. I mean, Dan was like, for the Burnley fan, he was really disappointed. Just the way Burnley is at the moment. It's really interesting, really getting a different perspective. And sometimes it's interesting getting a different perspective on how they view us as well. We had that with Greg as well from Forza Garibaldi. So basically saying, look, I'd give my arm to swap, our position for where you are now is, in terms of winning something. And it's really interesting, and Burnley have gone through this transition from a pragmatic football side, like under Sean Dyche, to a more expansive style of football. He called it, what did he call it? Man City on Wish. And he don't like it. He thinks you've lost identity. He thinks actually defensively they're very, very, very weak. Whereas under Dyche, they wouldn't concede a lot, but they wouldn't score a lot, but wouldn't concede a lot. So again, there's so many parallels. The same thing happened with the Bournemouth fan we had almost. Gary O'Neill was a very pragmatic manager. Kept them up, and then they basically sacked him, and they brought in Oriano, who again has taken time to adjust, and they're not really setting the world alight either. So it's very interesting. Rooney only got his chance under Moyes due to the mass injuries to the squad, and what a player he ended up. I think, yeah. But again, if buts and maybes, isn't it? It is if buts and maybes. Snow. Are we snow forecasted? Wow, it's very cold today. I don't want to see Granny Dings. Great name. Mbar must start up front at Burnley. Best game to start him. He won't. You know it's not going to happen, mate. Anyone been? We're going to talk about Bowen's injury later on when Moyes does his press conference. We'll find out more about that. Marshall needs to be up, but he's good. Totally agree with you, mate. Totally agree with you. He's not strong enough physically at the moment. He needs a season or two out on loan, and I think he'll be. As I said, I rate him as a fantastic player, and I think he's got a natural goal scoring ability. He'll score goals wherever he is, whatever league he's in. All our good kids will be gone in the summer. Well, it's good if they then progress, isn't it, Matt? It's good if they then progress and develop. We've gone through. I mean, I don't know if I've still got the slides. So we can go through it if you want. Let me try and find them. If my computer wants to work, there we go. Is it that one? Let me just see if these are the right slides. I spent a lot of time looking at data and looking at stuff, and I think we've since the beginning of the Premier League. I think we've given. No, it wasn't that. Oh, it's annoying. I think we've given something like. Oh, no, actually, what was it? I think it was something like 49 players, academy players, a debut. And to be honest, most of them you're thinking, "Oh, shit, what happened to them?" I think that's the trouble. Barcelona players, they do, but it's geared up to that, same as Liga, same as that it's geared up. You wouldn't see Man City or a Chelsea, unless you couldn't buy anyone, playing a 16-year-old week in, week out. Would you? You just wouldn't. Burnley play so open, indeed. They do play very, very, very open. Cornet and Ari Dings, Annie Dings, very good, ready to return to ball. Actually, let me get those slides, because I think it's really interesting to get your opinions on that, because obviously I did the video a while ago, and if I've still got them, let me just 2 seconds. And they say men can't multitask. Right, let's bring those up. Let's download those quickly. It's near the bottom, because I think again it's quite interesting because again it's we got 27,297 to 305. There we go. We just do this quickly. Download 207 297. Come on, 297 to. Right, that's going to download there, and then we'll put them up in a minute. Will Moyes realise that Ings needs support? Of course he won't. And he won't. It won't. Question: who would have thought Defoe and Harry were doing dodgies back in the day? Indeed, afternoon. All we know, Burnley have listed of all their home games tomorrow in Rocks, West Ham, so we all know it's going to happen. Indeed, we joke about that, we joke about that, welcome West Ham, whenever the side seems to have a dodgy spell where the player hasn't scored in a while. And most of the time it happens. GP, good afternoon to you. 2-minute debuts, meaningless. You're right. And actually, it's not about making those debuts. And that's why I mean, because again, narratives can be changed. So, David Moyes has given more first team debuts to academy players than any other manager in West Ham's Premier League history. But only one of those was in the Premier League. And it's not about how it's about how often you get a player who's played more than 50 games in the Premier League. Then they're an established academy player. 5 minutes easier, pointless, meaningless. 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there, dead rubber matches in Europa League games. That's not how it works. It should be, to really assess how well a player has developed into the first team is whether they got 50 Premier League appearances. That to me shows it. Just an interview with Burning fan asking him how he should play. Should never stick up to. Yep, we totally know that. We know that. We are the worst league for promoting youngsters, whereas Italy. Yeah, you're totally right. And I think that's been the issue. Is because it's money. It's money based, isn't it? I mean, look, where's the on that one? This one. So look at that game week 11, for example. These are players who in the starting 11 in the Premier League matches, two for Man United, although one of them was Garnacho, who they bought from Atletico Madrid when he was 17. So again, is that an academy player? Well, technically yes, but he bought him in. Chelsea 2, but obviously that was an overhang from when they couldn't buy anyone. That was Conor Gallagher and Reece James. Newcastle had Longstaff. Brighton, Hove Albion had Dunk. Liverpool had Trent. Palace had Mitchell, I think, and Arsenal had Saka. So all of them are, good players. And you're right what you said there. Look, and that's 9, not 7. But you're right what you said in terms of having the worst league. Liga. Now, obviously, we know money's an issue in Liga, compared to the Premier League, and obviously West Ham. You could invest the money in bringing a young player through, but actually you could easily go to Liga and get a player with much more experience already in there, and probably work out cheaper than boarding them, training them for 4, 5, 6 years. There's no incentive for them to do that. There's no incentive. There's incentive in terms of the national side for that to happen, but there's no incentive for a Man City to bring through 3, 4, or West Ham 3, 4 players into the Premier League squad, where they could have gone to Italy and or France and get ready-made replacements. That's the issue. That's the issue there. So it should be either higher quotas on homegrown players or higher quotas on academy players. That's the only way you're going to get around it. Look at you, Bellingham, 18. He's played like a veteran. But what did he have to do, Matt? He went to Borussia Dortmund and made his career, then went to Real Madrid. If he didn't go to a Premier League side. He went to a side which would promote you. How many English players, youngsters, Sancho, Bellingham, Reece Oxfords, all these guys and countless more go to Germany because they get more game time than if they stayed in the Premier League. That shows you there's an issue, but it isn't down to Premier League attracting big stars. I do think with the lineup of games Obama should be starting, he will get game time. There's no doubt he will get game time. I don't think he'll get much game time. I could see him possibly starting on Thursday against back at Topola. I don't think he'll start tomorrow. And that's not me not wanting. I want him to start, but I don't think he will. If Steindem was the manager, he'd play more kids than Moyes. I don't think he would. Don't think he would, Matt. I think he'd go and cherry pick the best kids who are already developed in league. He won't bring through academy players. No way would Moyes sign a player like Smashy Abu like Harry did. So youngsters had Abu was like mid-20s, late 30s. He was quite an old bloke already, so he wasn't a youngster. How many youngsters Steins given debuts to? Surprised no one has taken on Reece Oxford's. Well, he obviously is not. He had enough. Reece had enough hype about him. If he lived up to it, he would have made something. But he just went by the wayside. A bit like Ravel and all these types of players. I mean, you look at Josh. Obviously Josh will probably be playing tomorrow. The likelihood was obviously he went to Anderlecht and he moved across because of any company. If he hadn't, he'd probably still be at Anderlecht. So there we go. Age shaming on this channel, unbelievable. It really is. It really is. But as I said, it is a problem. It is a problem. Those are the starting lineups for the corresponding matches over the last 15 years, and you can see there is a deterioration in the number of the 22, 220 starters who are in the academy, who are from the academy. So yeah, and I agree. Moyes is risk adverse in terms of playing the youth team, but it's not 100%. It's a Premier League issue as well. And as I said in that, obviously there's 6, 7 sides who had academy players, which would mean there was 13 sides who haven't put any academy player. I mean, Brentford haven't even got an academy, have they really? But yeah, no, I just found it really interesting looking through it all, and I genuinely think that it is the one of the main reasons. Obviously, money being a huge reason, but the other reason for me is the the PL2, and we've had, as I said, countless people on that. The likes of Lee Hodges, Izzy Ickiped, Adam Newton, guys who have come through the ranks and maybe not made it at West Ham, but they've gone elsewhere. But they speak about how much of a learning curve the reserve team football was. We don't get that here now. I think Izzy. I remember Izzy saying something about it was Stuart Pearce or Ian Pearce. He was playing centre back with him against Spurs, and Les Ferdinand was getting him was basically beating Izzy all the time, and Izzy was like half a foot taller. And he basically said, it's Ian or Stuart, one of the Pierces, basically said to him, this is what you got to do. You got to cut off the run here and da. And then he learned on the game. He learned on the job, so to speak. If you play teenagers more than 10 games a season, you get an extra point. Just thought, do you know what? That's the only way things like that are going to change, mate. And it's I mean, the academy, the whole thing is a detriment to the English game, really, in terms of bringing the next generation of players through. Because otherwise, you're going to be playing under 21s, and most of the under 21s aren't getting first team football. They're playing in the PL2s and stuff like that eventually. And it's like, well, it's not going to help us out. What we got here? Sir Alex promoted a young team. He did. You're totally right. That was 20 years ago, though. And as I said, there's been a deter. I don't think Sir Alex would have done it now. I think there's pressure on him. There's pressure on managers and sides to get the best youngsters, to get the best, best players available. And the only exception was Chelsea, obviously, when Frank took over, because obviously they couldn't buy anyone. So they had to promote the likes of Trevor Chalobah, Conor Gallagher, Reece James. They had lots of youngsters in there. And as soon as they could, they ended up spending, they spent £1 billion in the last couple of transfer windows. So even that wasn't enough of an encouragement to keep it going. But that's football. That's the way we live. Why not encourage PLs to play youngsters in League Cup like you need a quota? Totally agree, GP. Totally agree. Again, you've got the issue, but I think a lot of clubs do play the youngsters in the cup competitions. I don't think that helps them in the long run, because they'll get one game here, So for some, it's an experience, as I said, and I said before, Moyes has given more youth team players, their academy players, their first team debut than any other Premier League manager in West Ham's history. But the issue being is that's it. we don't forget when we had that game and we all, they're all there and that type of thing. And as I said, Jeremy Angaki is the only player that Moyes has given a debut, their first game being in the Premier League, and that was against Liverpool. How does that make any sense? They actually played really well, but where's he gone since then? Do you know what I mean? We had, where is it? I've got the stats. I love a stat. 49 players we've given first team debuts for since, I believe that's the beginning of our Premier League. So since 2012. But out of that, only 3 of them were actually in the Premier League. The rest were in cup competitions. The rest were in, FA Cup, League Cup, or or Europa League or Conference League games. And how many of them have you seen have graduated into being, first team players for us? I mean, looking down the list, Reece Burke now is obviously at Luton. Obviously Josh. I think he ended up playing 10 appearances for us. Grady, probably. Obviously Deck, Connor Coventry. Ben Johnson still has 50 appearances under his belt, I think, now. Agaki went by the wayside. Ashby went by the wayside. Alesi went by the Longello went by the wayside. Or the Becco went by the wayside. Sonny Perkins went by the wayside. So, it really is quite damning when you look at that in terms of just how poor, the academy is in terms of, but the Premier League academies are, rather than just Man City. They didn't have anyone in that game, but then they might have Phil Foden next week. But it was just obviously on a 1-match thing. But even across 2 matches, they didn't have any Premier League starters from the academy. Who will be the next West Ham player to get into the England team? Great question, Michael. I think you'll be again. Well, at the current, unless James Ward-Prowse is a fantastic, but I think if you're talking about youngsters coming through, he's probably Divine if he stays with West Ham, surely. But I think he would be, wouldn't it? With our run in now to Christmas, how many games will Mbama play? I reckon about 3 or 4. I think he'll get plenty of game time. I think there's there's the run in there. I think the chances are I could see him. Well, it's on the basis of when Antonio's back. Which will probably be mid to late December. So if he wasn't available all the time, I'd say at least I could see him playing in the Europa League games, particularly trying to keep Bowen fit. Again, we don't know how long he'll be out for, but back at Topola, you'd imagine he'll probably play then. Because I don't think Bowen will be back by then. If he's out, like he's probably out for, I reckon, the Burnley game and the back of Topola game, to be honest. Back for Palace. Freiburg, you might get some minutes against Freiburg. Possibly. Particularly being at home as well. I could see that, maybe. I don't know. I can't see in the Premier League. I just can't see it at the moment. It's not a case of him not being good enough, but the likelihood of Moyes playing him is the next question, which is not very high. Sunderland did well. They did. They took what's his face, Alesi, Anton's favourite, and what's his name? Oh my God, my name's gone to what was it? Oh, my name's gone to pot. Where is he? Oh, I can't remember his name. What's the lad's name? They took him as well, didn't they? Oh, the guy we got from Chelsea. I can't remember. But yeah, they done well out of it. And good luck to him. And sometimes actually, if he's not going to, that to me, I remember when we had Tony Carr on the channel, and he was saying that, we asked him, what is the role of the academy? Equa, thank you. What is the role of the academy? And he goes to create players, and he said it the other day at the 13 event, to create players for the West Ham first team, and if they're not going to make the West Ham first team, to create good professional players. And so a lot of them, a lot of them, as I said, going in terms of going through, out of that crop there, in terms of those players, You know, I mean, Pelly's playing. Obviously, Elliott's playing in what's his face for Wrexham. You've got Reece Burke. Blair's playing over in is it Germany as well as Reece. Josh, you know, you got some players who are playing. Obviously, Tony Martinez at Porto. You got some really good players still playing there. So it's I find it fascinating about the academy. I think also we've always had this utopian view of what the academy is. And I think sometimes I think we give more credit to our academy players than what they deserve. I mean, look at Sonny Perkins, for example. You know, he went to what's the name? He went to he got a couple of first team appearances at West Ham. Thought he was it. Wanted more money. Went to Leeds. They farmed him out to Oxford. You know, same as Grady, isn't it? The world almost collapsed in itself, and we sold Grady and Dean Garner to West Brom for £19 million. Absolute brilliant bit of business. He's done absolute fuck all since, hasn't he? Although he had a bit of a renaissance, didn't he? Was it last season? I think he had a few good games. But yeah, absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. We can play in the League Cup is diminished now. The big teams playing weak inside. So I don't see how making it a semi-youth makes it more prestigious. You're totally right. I suppose you do have that in terms of you got the under-21s within the Bristol Street Motors Trophy, the EFL Trophy. So that is the opportunity to blood them against lower league opposition. So they do have that mechanism now in place. But yeah, I totally agree with me. Totally agree. I don't like the last fixtures on the list. We'll be lucky to get everything apart from maybe Wolves and Man United. Yeah, it is a tough. I saw someone put. I can't remember who it was, but they made a prediction thing based on the three Christmas games, and the average current league position of the three we're playing. I think we've got the second worst. I think Everton have got the worst running at Christmas, and we've got the second worst based on average league position. But that's for us. That's when we play all right. It's when we play traditionally. It's when we play against the likes of Burnley, the likes of Sheffield United, Everton. You know, these sides are the sides where you do always tend to struggle with. But yeah. What we got here? Maybe GP, then it would be a handicap competition for sure. Never rated Perkins, but I do rate Elise and Ashby. Ashby, I did really rated Ashby. I was gutted. He was my Elise. Anton loved Elise, but again, it's hindsight's a great thing, isn't it? It's always a great thing, and you can look back and go, "Oh, told you so," or look back and, "Oh, I was wrong there." I don't think at the moment any of the ones we've let go have come back to bite us in the arse just yet. It's not saying they won't, but just yet. You know, the likes of Dean Garner, the likes of Perkins, Ashby, Elise, Cullen, these guys haven't come back and gone, become absolute world beaters. And if they were world beaters, then they would have been integrated into the side. I mean, look at Declan Rice. Obviously, he was integrated into the side, not by Pellegrini, not by Moyes, but I don't think even then we realised what a good I mean, I knew he was a good player. I used to watch him in the under-18s and 21s, and he stood out from a leadership perspective. But I didn't think he'd be half the player that he became at all. I don't think it's a case of giving too much credit to youngsters. I think maybe I think it's the thought that maybe one of them will turn out to be, won't know till we play them though. Totally right. You're totally right, Freeman. You're totally right. And unfortunately, it's a calculated risk, isn't it, to play them in the way. But every transfer, is a calculated risk. And I think you mitigate your risk by buying in players who have already got 50, 60 appearances under their belt already, rather than necessarily bringing in a youngster. It's not saying that youngster won't be better than this guy, but in terms of getting the result, then it's more likely that you get a better result out of the guy with 50, 60 appearances under his belt than you would do against the guy making his debut. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's the type of thing that Moisey does, isn't he? He's risk adverse. Afternoon, happy hour. Hope you're well. We need as many points before we reach the Christmas schedule. We do indeed. Obviously, don't forget after Christmas, we've got a couple of weeks, couple of games, and then we go to the Africa Cup of Nations. But also we have the winter break as well. So I think it's only 4 or 5 games really will be without potentially the likes of Aged, Kudus, Ben Rama, Cornet, and that's based on them getting all the way to the final. So, some will get knocked out earlier, so they'll come back earlier, and they might have a little rest before they. But then we've got the winter break as well, so it's sort of worked out not too bad. I know it's bad, but it's not too bad. Can't say that later. Yep. Hi. Bye. Bigger clubs have always rested players in certain competitions. Don't know what the answer is, but I'm not convinced quotas is the answer personally. Yeah. I mean, there's loads of rules. I was listening to Talk Sport the other day, and one guy said, what rules would you change? And one was the injuries. If a player injures another player, he should go off as well as the player while he's getting injured. And it was like, what? But actually, it makes sense. If I don't know, say tomorrow, if Sanderberg does in Paqueta, for example, Paqueta goes off injured while he's getting treatment off the pitch, Sanderberg's still on the pitch, so actually they've got an advantage. So there's loads, and the whole thing of offside and all that type of stuff. I find it fascinating. I really do. Why do you think Moyes doesn't opt for it back three? Could add more height for set pieces, but would take away a midfield position. I think that's exactly the reason. I think you've answered it, Danny, in your message there. I totally. We've got the players to do it now, and we know that Burnley are absolutely shocking when it comes to set pieces in terms of defending them. So, bringing in a Mavropanos, we know tomorrow's going to be a right shit house. It's going to be proper Moyes ball. We know Souček's going to play. We know Souček's probably going to play that sort of advanced role that he always plays, like a 10. We know he's going to go, real back to basics, because if we're led to be believed, we could have definitely Antonio, definitely Bowen, and possibly Kudus out. That's your complete forward line gone, with the exception of Paqueta. So he's going to proper shit house that result. And Dan from Turf Moorhouse was saying we'll probably lose the game, and then people will come out and going, we've just got Burnleyed, because that's what West Ham are going to do. They're going to do what we should do for other teams, but they don't. They play very expansive football, massive gaps. I think they've played I think they've made, it was something like 24 or 25 players they've already played this season in the Premier League, which is mental. So, Vinny doesn't know what he's doing in terms of he's trying all these different things. He's buying loads of players in. All the players that he got promoted are on the bench. And Dan wasn't happy at all. Ben Cornet might not be going to. You're right, they might not be. Might not get picked up. You're totally right. Could you imagine if Shush? I'm too excited to watch us play again that I can't text properly. Fair enough. That's Tim's budget, 85 million he gets from shitties from Pac-Man. That won't be to the summer anyway. I would love a rule where subs have to be 50% youth. Interesting. Could he play Paqueta up front for a bit high, or maybe Souček? I think he'll play. I mean, as much as I want Divine up front, he's not going to play him, is he? Please, but in the traditional Moyes sense, he ain't going to play him. So I think for me, it's about seeing. I mean, the alternative. So if he will, the likelihood is he's going to play Dan Ings up front. That's the likelihood. Regardless of what that's going to happen, that's probably is what's going to happen. So what he'll do is he'll push probably Souček up front as that 10 role. He'll play the rest of the side's all right. Play a 4-1-4-1. 4-1-4-1, would he? I think it depends for me about Kudus. Because at the moment, if Bowen's out but Kudus plays, but Kudus can play, then obviously he can play on the right-hand side. It's not his best position, but he can play on the right-hand side. They put Paqueta on the left-hand side, although he doesn't really play as a left side. He drifts in. Yeah, because then you play Alvarez in the CDM role. Souček, he always plays as a 4-1, as a 4-1-3-1-1 type thing. Well, he might play two. He might play a 4. He might do a 4-1, 4-1-3. No, but anyway, I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Not too sure how City will handle Pack though. He gets there. He's allowed a lot with us with his antics and all. I think Pep with him, with Pep under Pep's wing. I think if anything, I think it'll be better. So I think what will happen is he'll get more structure. This is what your job is. At the moment, he's like, you can just do whatever. I put you down as a left wing, but you're not a left winger. You drift into 10, you go right back. You're all over the fucking place. Well, I think he'll be more focused, and I think you'll see a better player. Let's put us in that position. Never prepared to use anything else other, especially our youth. Yeah, fair play. The ref was on the official at the arse. Good vibes indeed. I think the VAR was a favourable VR person for us as well. About 4 or 5 of those players currently playing in the Prem. What are we talking about? I don't know. The ref's asking for respect. They should get it if they did their job properly. Switches to 10. He can't pass the ball and certainly isn't fast. It's not about that, Ralph. It's about they're going to hoof it up to him. It's going to be proper hoofball tomorrow. It proper is. And I mean, Dan made a point yesterday. He was saying Arsenal came and played for corners because they knew they had Saliba, they had Ben White, they had some really big height. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to play for corners and play for set pieces because we know we are so much stronger than them defensively or offensively in a set piece situation. They play. We'll give them the ball. We'll low block them, and then we'll do it. And we know that's what's going to happen. We know it. And even more justification for doing it now because there'll be if Bowen and Kudus aren't playing. You just go, well, what can I do? It's like as you said, you probably backed yourself into a corner there, mate. We have good enough players to weather this storm, just not enough experience playing them to adjust to these type of situations. I totally agree. Did you hear that chairman has flown over to Burnley to give Burnley support? Must have thought they need as much help as they can. Well, obviously, awesome, isn't it? Because what's his face? Do perfect. They're part of the shareholders out there, and Adam Frankel is a personal friend of Do Perfect. I believe he's going over there anyway. I'll do. Hands up if you think tomorrow is going to be a shit. There we go. Pat seems frustrated a lot of the time with our team, not on his wavelength. But also I think Michael, that's just his not vernacular, but his style. He's very much he's very theatrical. Di Canio used to do it as well. Not Pyatt, but Di Canio particularly used to do that. He was almost like annoyed that someone didn't know that he was going to pass 4 passes ahead of him. That type of thing, and that's the type of player he is because that's sort of mercurial talent. Do you ever get asked to play music to cater to youth? No, not really. Not really. We tend to. We used to. I tell you what we used to do. We used to ask players for songs when they're warming up. But the trouble is we stopped doing it because pretty much everyone was. We couldn't get a clean version. It was all explicit lyrics. Or it was some really random. I think it was it Arnautovic? He had a really random request. It was some like Hungarian street hip hop act or something like that. It's like, what? Can't you just put a bit of Calvin Harris on? Do you know what I mean? It's like, but it was so obscure, it just didn't work. You just love it. Hope Laugh Foster, yeah, indeed. I mean, Dan was saying yesterday from the Burnley fan that he reckons Lyle might not be back until towards the end of the season. So, but look, when you think comes to things like that, physically you can repair from injuries, but mentally you can't. It takes longer. So it's about making sure that he's in the right place for himself. By the time he plays Spurs, 3 points might put us above him. You're right, Ronnie Bubble. Whatever happens, we just know Moyes is going to make a meal out of it against. Of course he is. Have you ever heard of Jamie X? It's called Loud Places. I reckon you'd love it. I'll have a listen to it, mate. Are they also under investigation for selling Defoe? They certainly are. There's going to be some could be some interesting ramifications for various Premier League sides in the next few months for sure, which is part of the reason. Again, I get lots of people messaging me go, oh, you said we can't spend we sold 100 in the summer and now we spent less, so we should have this money. No, we shouldn't. We overspent in 2021 as well. And we've because of the whole Everton thing, we've got to count our pennies, and we've got to be very, very careful, because it's totally wrong that Everton have got done for one charge, whereas City have got 115 charges. And on that basis, City 100, would that be 150 points? Will they be in? It's ridiculous. But because of that, and because of maybe a biasness towards the top six in terms of how these things are dealt with, anyone outside the top six needs to be very careful. Needs to count their pennies. Aston Villa will be shitting themselves. Bournemouth will be shitting themselves. Nottingham Forest will be shitting themselves, because these guys have spent a lot of money, and it's about how that money's recouped and debt and loss over a 3-year period. As I said, Everton's breach was because wasn't even to do with the team, because they was doing the new stadium at Stanley Park, and it was like £20 million because of that, which seems a lot of money in football terms. It's not, which is crazy as well. Fornals will get his dream move to Barcelona. I think he prefers Sevilla, in all honesty, Michael. Why would he be interested in anything now, as he's been thrown under the bus? Such a wasted talent. I get that. My only rebuttal is, have we got a better side now? Have we got a side? If you look at our start, maybe with the exception of Souček, because that's the one everyone says, would he take, would Fornals replace Paqueta? Would Fornals replace Alvarez? Would Fornals replace JWP? I don't think so. Last year, he still played 50 games last year. Last year, he played 50 games for the club. 25 starts, 25 subs. A lot of them in the European games. But that's the idea of having a squad. So he needs to be playing regular league football. He's not going to get it at West Ham. And actually, I think that's the right thing to do. Too often than not, we keep players hanging on. And, the likes of Cresswell, Oggy, these players should have probably gone to about 18 months ago. But we keep them on. And then we worry, then we're surprised that we have the oldest squad in the Premier League. Well, we've got Oggy at 36, Cressy at 33. Soufal's going to get a new 1-year deal on it. He's going to get his 1 year activated. So he'll be 32, 33 by the time he finishes. Fabianski will be 39, he's 39, 40 as well. So actually, it's, you look at the likes of, as I said, the likes of Man City, a lot of other clubs are quite, brutal with what they, Man City, they got rid of Mahrez, and Mahrez was one of the probably the top performers for them last season. Jesus was a regular goal scorer. They got all these players to bring in a new generation. So, and the fact is, although Sevilla and Barcelona are apparently both interested in him, Fulham's not. You've got to think Brentford. There's loads of Premier League sides. No one's put him from either. And we know he's a good player. I love him. I love him as a player as well. I love him as a person as well. But it seems that his heart has always been set. Same as Lanzini. I know Happy Emirates in the chat, but he could have easily gone to a Nottingham Forest or someone like that, but he didn't, because he wanted to go home. And I think Fornals wants to go home as well, and that's it. So I'd rather he get his wish. It's actually quite interesting, as Luton was at 10 points, the same thing that season, so that could really come to bite them back. Exactly. Surprisingly, I've only just found out. Yeah, Burnley, 100 million. Dan said. He was like, for what? He was like, what's the point? He's like, what's the point of spending all that money? Should have just. He actually reckons that Burnley got promoted about 2 years earlier than they thought they would do in the project. So they've had to put money in to compete. Otherwise, it would be an embarrassing season for them. Although the fact is, Everton has still got 10-point reduction, and they're still above them. Funny how Harry is always surrounded by dodgy deals. It is indeed. Could even get deducted more if their compensation. It would do, because they'd go into administration, because it'd be £300 million, like 100 million each. Everton will appeal in the decision. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes down to probably about 6 or 7 points. They won't lose them all, but I reckon it'll go down a little bit. I loved Harry Redknapp. Yeah, I liked him. I loved his. That time I loved was fantastic. Really, it was entertaining, and we were entertained. It was absolutely fucking crazy, but we were entertained, and there was a few strange deals happening. But again, that was a different time. That was the mid-90s. Do you know what I mean? So social media wasn't there, and and the lad culture was around, and it was totally different. you couldn't get a player running up and down the touchline pretending to grope the linesman's bum like John Moncur would do back then. That wouldn't happen now. For good reason. Surely there must be other Premier. Yeah, I agree. There's not. Everton could end up with a situation where 10 points should have other failings and end up with 30. You're totally right. Bowen has scored more than Saka and Trossard combined. Doesn't surprise me. Zizi begged me to stay with me, but I sent him packing. Yeah, exactly. Too right. Good riddance. If City penalises, does that affect them from a European point of view? Not this year, but it would do next year, obviously, because they wouldn't qualify unless they won the Champions League. They wouldn't be in the Champions League that year in terms of next year. There is different protocols because we're in Europe. There's different tolerances in terms of what you can and can't declare in terms of your losses. And also they're bringing in the sort of staggered wage bill as well. So we're pretty much quite high up. I think every year they brought it down like 10%, and I think it's at 70% now, and we're quite high up. So it would be, if to get new people in, we'd have to get rid of old ones as well, basically in the summer. Tomorrow's game would suit us the way Burnley and Moyes plays 3-1. I totally agree. They're going to play expansive. We're going to play Moyes ball. And I think Moyes will probably win. It'd be a high scoring game. I think I personally think it'd be a 2-2 draw. But that's my stock answer for everything at the moment with West Ham. Does it wonder me how many of his deals of crap he signed was done for his purse, allegedly? And talking about that, obviously don't forget that whole era, that was Manny on a minimi, wasn't it? And what's name did it last week, didn't they? Was it Barnsley? Barnsley got a player, and that they filled in the legal an unregistered player, and they got chucked out of the FA Cup. And Horsham are now back through to the next round and playing Sutton United in the second round. Absolutely amazing! It still happens in these days. That whole money on the minimi thing. Well, actually, we had one. Was it Elise in the EFL trophy? He had an extra yellow card and he shouldn't have played or something like that. If you're new around here, thanks for joining us. This is a bit of a random one, but I do them occasionally. But don't forget, give it a like. Really helps out the channel. Thank you. We're on the road to 25,000 subscribers, which is crazy. Absolutely crazy, to be honest. So thanks to each and every one of you. Good old days. Remember all the fans kicking off the Bond screen? It was interesting about it. It was. And Ralph, someone put up a picture of the burger van, the burger shop by the East End, and someone put it, and I retweeted it because it was like absolutely brilliant. How much was it? This just shows you where inflation. Where is it? I'm going to put it up. I won't put it up, but I'll go through some of the prices because I was like, fucking hell, Jesus. It's like you remember. Everyone probably remember on the East place we went to the bowling, East End and North, and where the Bobby Moore, there was the road, and there was a brick building. It's like West Ham's favourite burgers, and they were all named after players or whatnot. And what I loved about it was burgers in French bread. It was revolutionary back in. It was like, oh my god! And you had like the Mad Dog, which is obviously a hot dog, the Great Dane, which was a hot dog with bacon. Anyway, the Humdinger, that was my one, the Humdinger, double burger and cheese, £4.20, £4.20, absolute bargain. Can of drink, £1.20, chocolate bar 60p. Inflation's gone mad. I knew someone whose family works at Turnstiles. Club wanting to reduce their 7. Yeah, doesn't surprise me. Got to run like the stream. Thank you, Happy Hammer. Thank you very much. After this actual break, Alvarez to be West Ham's future captain. Your thoughts? Great goal. If you haven't seen, he scored an absolute belter last minute in the qualifiers. Taken to penalties, and Santiago Jimenez, an absolutely fantastic penalty. He took. Love him. I think it's great. Future captain, maybe. The trouble is he gets booked a lot. And when a player gets booked a lot, it means they don't always play all the time. And I think that's one area. This morning we did some sort of transfer rumor bits, and one of them was a Torino CDM, like 10 million quid, which I think is a very good deal because actually, someone like Alvarez, we haven't got a CDM replacement for when he gets suspended. He will get suspended 2 or 3 times a season just because that's the type of player he is. And JWP can't do that. Suchek can't do that role. So actually, you do need to recognise CDM. Maybe is a slightly older one, 27, 28, knowing he's coming in as Edson's replacement or when he needs, or when we go extra defensive and put 2 CDMs in. Don't think it's a bad buy, actually. But yeah, Paqueta goes to City. Pep might make him better, but he will play less. I don't think he'll play less, but I think he'll make him better. So I think you'll focus him rather than, and that was always the issue. I remember with Tevez, when Tevez first joined West Ham, he was like a fucking madman. He'd run everywhere, want to get involved in everything, like Paqueta does. I think it was Curbs, or not Curbs, or when Curbs took over from Pards and basically said, "You stay up front, and we'll kick the ball to you, and you can need you." And then he became the cult hero, and I think that's what Paqueta needs. He needs, right, okay, I know you love doing this, but you're more useful up there. Don't be doing your fucking Rabonas on the on the goal line. I want him to over there, on the in the opposition final third. And so I think you get a much better player. But maybe he feels like he has to. Maybe he doesn't think the team's strong enough, so he's running about and doing everything he can because he wants to be involved. I don't know. Zuma should be captain. Very good. We have a one-legged captain at the moment. He only plays two-thirds of a season. I still think, Michael, that is a stopgap captain appointment. I still think he is. I could see in January maybe the Saudi Pro League coming in, and then JWP gets it full time. That's what I think happens, because we know that. Well, we were led to believe that that Harry Maguire was offered the captainship if he came to West Ham. So that in itself was thinking, okay, well, if that's the case, then surely why would you offer it to him if Zuma was already there? So that's my personal opinion. Might be completely wrong. That's what I think. But we'll wait and see. And I think it's really important in terms of who has the. I think it's more important now who has the captain than last year because of all the new rules about players can't be surrounding the referee and stuff like that. The captain has a very, very important job, and I just don't think Zuma's the right person. Don't think so. Do you think JWP will remain as captain after Moyes leaves? Probably not. No. JWP is Moyes' man, and when a new manager comes in, because there will be a new manager eventually, then he might struggle to get game time. JWP might be, because they might want to go and get a Yusuf Fofana or get someone who's a younger model, or playing a different way. So his game time may be curtailed. If they if a manager came in and played a 3-4-3. Would you could say that maybe Paqueta and Alvarez in the middle, maybe, and JWP will, I don't know. I do not know. So anyway, we're going to have the Dave Moyes press conference will be in about half an hour or so. So what we're going to do is I'm going to toddle off and listen to that, and then do our little synopsis that straight away what Moyes says about things like who's going to play, who's not going to play. And then tomorrow we've got the stat attack in the morning. Then we've got starting 11 shows. We've got the watch along with myself doing the kickoff bit. And I imagine Anton will come and do the actual commentary because he likes doing that. I come back at half time, then I'll go at the end to help him at the end. And then Sunday, and then back to Monday. And then we don't forget on Thursday, we got bloody back into Polis. We start all over again. And then we got bloody Crystal Palace. So it's literally non-stop. It's literally every 3 to 4 days we've got a game now. So you're going to get, those wheels are going to keep on turning. Proud Mary keep on turning, rolling like a river. But there's going to be plenty of content coming out. Opposition views, starting 11 shows, predicted 11 shows. We'll have stat attacks. It's all going to be coming at some rate, and then it's Christmas. we're trying to get a few special guests in for Christmas as a thank you to the West Ham Network community. Got some good guys lined up. We're just trying to get them, just trying to get the dates. It's really annoying. But if you want to support the channel, don't forget to comment, like, share. It's free. Doesn't cost you nothing to subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell notification. It goes all funny now when you hit the like button. It goes. Woo! So try it now. Hit that like button and watch it go. Terribly exciting. So you can do that. Same with the subscribe button. It goes. It's all very, very, very funny. Or you can support the channel by becoming a channel member. Join button down there. You get extra content as well as helping the channel out. Or if you don't do either, but you want some free beer and you live in the UK, I need to say, beer52.com/West Ham. Get yourself a free case of beer. Just cover the postage of $5.95. And even more, if you want a VPN, surfshark.com/West Ham Network. They've got a Black Friday deal on, 6 months free rather than 3 months free. It's all go. It's all go. But until then, take care. Stay safe. Stay warm. Stay humble. Keep the faith, my friends. And I'll speak to you very, very soon. Take care. Much love. See you soon. Irons.